October 3, 2024, News Report 1. On October 3, Taiwan's immigration agency announced the deportation of 2 Chinese tourists who harassed a Hong Kong protest event in Taipei, citing violations of entry conditions. The incident occurred on October 1, China's National Day, when the Hong Kong group, Hong Kong Programming Youth, held a protest rally in Ximending, Taipei, against China's infringement on Hong Kong's democracy and freedoms. A black flag reading, "Liberate Hong Kong, Revolution of Our Times," was raised during the rally. During the event, 2 Chinese tourists suddenly stormed the venue, damaging the flag and provoking attendees. One Chinese man shouted, "Today is China's National Day, I will not allow this flag." Taiwan and Hong Kong are both parts of China. Taipei police swiftly intervened, stopping their actions and subsequently handing the case over to the immigration agency. Investigations revealed that the tourists, a couple with the surname Yao, had originally applied to visit Hong Kong to see a family member. However, it was found that this family member had returned to China in July of this year. The couple entered Taiwan at the end of September, clearly lying and violating entry regulations. The immigration agency emphasized that Taiwan welcomes friendly tourists but will not tolerate any actions that threaten Taiwan's security, disrupt social order, or undermine Taiwan's sovereignty. The Taiwanese government stated that it will handle such cases seriously and will not show leniency. Since the administration of President Lai Ching-te took office, the pace of handling cases involving China has accelerated, with a stricter attitude. News Report 2. According to Voice of America, U.S. President Joe Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping are expected to hold a phone call in the coming days. U.S.-China officials are currently preparing for the conversation. American officials revealed that the main topic of discussion will be China's substantial support for Russia in the Ukraine war. The U.S. hopes that through this call, the leaders of both countries can reach consensus on several issues, including fentanyl, artificial intelligence, and security. Notably, the last conversation between Biden and Xi was in April of this year, and their last meeting took place during the APEC summit in San Francisco last November. On October 2, U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Daniel B. Smith pointed out in a video speech at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace that Russia is attempting to change territorial boundaries in Europe, while China has provided significant support to Russia. He specifically mentioned that with China's assistance, Russia has rebuilt its capabilities for tanks, missiles, and drones, raising significant concern and alarm from the international community. Smith further noted that the U.S. and its allies are seriously concerned about Chinese companies supplying drones to Russia. According to a report by the Voice of America on September 25, the Russian state-owned military-industrial company KUB has been mass-producing long-range attack drones in factories in China, with Russia developing new models with Chinese assistance. News Report 3. On October 3, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov published articles in their respective official media to celebrate the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations between China and Russia. However, this event has raised significant questions, as there has not been a 75-year history of diplomatic relations between China and Russia. In fact, the Soviet Union was established in 1922, and the People's Republic of China was founded in 1949. After the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, the Russian Federation was formed. If counting from the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and the Soviet Union in 1949 until the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, that totals 42 years, while the diplomatic relationship between China and Russia today is 33 years, which together would total 75 years. Therefore, strictly speaking, the celebration of the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations between China and Russia is not valid. Russia is not the Soviet Union, there are significant differences in both political systems and territories. However, the Chinese government equates Russia with the Soviet Union, which may be aimed at emphasizing the historical ties between the two countries and their close strategic partnership. China may be trying to strengthen its relationship with Russia by revisiting the Soviet era and using this historical symbol to highlight their strategic cooperation. In April of this year, Chinese ambassador to France Liu She made controversial remarks in French media, stating that the former Soviet republics do not have clear sovereign status under international law. This statement drew strong protests from these former Soviet countries, as they all gained sovereign status after the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Wang Yi's article in Xinhua is titled, 75 Years of Riding the Wind and Breaking the Waves, Striving Forward on a New Journey, stating that the China-Russia relationship is at its best historical period and emphasizing the strong endogenous power of China-Russia cooperation. Lavrov published an article titled, Russia and China, a partnership and friendship forged by time, in Rossiyskaya Gazeta, stating that since the two countries established diplomatic relations in 1949, their relationship has become increasingly solid, while criticizing the U.S. for escalating tensions in the Asia-Pacific region, particularly regarding the Taiwan issue. This diplomatic interaction reflects the strategic considerations of both China and Russia in their foreign relations, but it also raises questions about the accuracy of historical narratives. News Report 4. Bloomberg reports that according to advertising tracking website AD Impact, Democratic candidate Kamala Harris's advertising expenditures reached $192 million in September, more than double that of former President Donald Trump's ad spending. Since taking over the campaign, Harris has shown strong fundraising capabilities, and by early September, her total fundraising had exceeded Trump's by $190 million. During the last weekend of September, Harris raised a total of $55 million at two fundraising events held in California. Bloomberg noted that Trump has had to increase his campaign spending over the past 2 months to respond to Harris's strong fundraising momentum, exceeding his fundraising income. Trump's campaign team announced on October 2 that they raised a total of $160 million in September, but expenditures exceeded income by $12 million. The Trump team stated that as the election campaign enters its final stages, now is a critical time to increase investment, and spending more money is normal. News Report 5. Voice of America reports that the U.S. Department of Homeland Security released its annual threat assessment report on October 2. The report indicated that the U.S. will face a higher threat level on October 7 and November 5. October 7 marks the anniversary of the Hamas attack on Israel, and the report states that this may exacerbate the current tensions, particularly regarding potential threats to Jewish and Muslim communities. November 5 is Election Day in the U.S., and the report warns that there is a heightened risk of extremists creating panic and disrupting the electoral process, with possible targets including voters, candidates, and election workers. The report also mentions that countries such as China, Russia, and Iran may attempt to undermine U.S. critical infrastructure through cyber attacks and other means, potentially influencing election outcomes and weakening U.S. democratic systems and social cohesion. Looking ahead to the next year, the report suggests that the international situation and domestic social developments may be exploited by extremists, keeping the threat of terrorism at a high level. Meanwhile, CBS reports that the U.S. House of Representatives has passed a bill requiring all newly manufactured cars to be equipped with AM radios. Although AM radio has largely been replaced by FM broadcasting, it remains the only reliable means of communication during network outages, capable of receiving signals over hundreds of kilometers in emergency situations. Interestingly, Xinhua reported that in September, China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology also released a similar policy requiring newly manufactured cars to be equipped with AM radio receivers to ensure that the public can receive authoritative emergency information during unexpected events. This move aligns with the U.S. policy. Some netizens began to speculate that the simultaneous requirement for AM radios in both the US and China, combined with the Chinese military's launch of a Dongfeng 41 intercontinental ballistic missile on September 25, might indicate that both countries are preparing for a future major conflict. News Report 6. Recently, a widely discussed open letter on Twitter quickly went viral. The letter was written by Ren Jiqiang's daughter, Ren Xini, to Chinese President Xi Jinping, calling for humanitarian reasons to allow her father, Ren Jiqiang, to receive medical treatment outside of prison and to go abroad for treatment. This open letter was published on October 2, stating that the 73-year-old Ren Jiqiang's health has deteriorated sharply since he was sentenced to 18 years in prison in September 2020. Before his sentencing, Ren Jiqiang was diagnosed with serious prostate disease and urgently needed surgery, and recently he has exhibited symptoms such as asthma. Since his imprisonment, Ren Jiqiang has not received effective treatment, leading to a continuous decline in his health. The letter also mentioned that Ren Jiqiang's brother was sentenced to 9 years due to his connection to the case, and the entire family is on the verge of breaking down due to illness and the verdict. Ren Sini promised in the letter that if Ren Jiqiang could receive treatment abroad, he would not make public statements or engage in other activities that might upset the government. She emphasized that Ren Jiqiang, being elderly and seriously ill, does not pose a threat to Xi Jinping or the Chinese government. Ren Jiqiang gained widespread attention for his outspoken criticisms and was nicknamed Ren de Peo. He publicly criticized Xi Jinping multiple times, especially during the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, when he wrote an article calling Xi a clown who insists on being the emperor even when stripped of his clothes. After this article was published, Ren Jiqiang was arrested and sentenced to 18 years in prison in September of the same year. As an important public intellectual in China, Ren Jiqiang's remarks have had a wide impact on Chinese society. This is why the Xi Jinping government took severe measures against him, convicting and imprisoning him for a long time. News Report 7. According to reports from the Liberty Times, Typhoon Shan-Tu made landfall in the Shaojiang district of Kaohsiung City, Taiwan, on October 2 at noon, with wind speeds reaching 17 levels and gusts up to 226 km per hour. The typhoon has caused extremely severe damage in Kaohsiung City. The port of Kaohsiung experienced massive waves up to 8 meters high, and the typhoon blew over containers and scaffolding, causing them to be blown onto the streets. Iron sheet houses were swept away by the strong winds like pieces of paper, store signs were blown down, and large trees were uprooted. Even the roof of the Costco store in Kaohsiung was torn off, with rain and wind pouring directly into the store, causing widespread destruction. Before the typhoon made landfall, the Kaohsiung city government urgently issued evacuation warnings, reminding residents of the potential disasters caused by strong winds and calling for emergency evacuations. District offices also opened evacuation shelters for residents. The Central Weather Bureau stated that the typhoon weakened rapidly after landfall and moved northeast, heading north along Taiwan's northwest coast. As of 3 p.m. on October 2, the Disaster Response Center reported that the typhoon had caused 2 deaths, 1 person was missing, and 219 people were injured. Additionally, 100,000 households experienced power outages. The destruction caused by the typhoon led to the cancellation of all domestic flights and 99 international flights in Taiwan on October 3. On October 4, Kaohsiung City and Pingdong County continued to suspend work and classes, while other counties gradually returned to normal. Furthermore, during the typhoon's impact, a fire broke out in the power distribution room of Antai Hospital in Donggang Township, Pingdong County, on the morning of October 3, resulting in the deaths of 9 people, 8 of whom were bedridden elderly individuals. The main reason for this tragedy was smoke inhalation. This fire further exacerbated the tragic consequences of the typhoon, causing immense pain to the local community. News Report 8. According to reports from the Philippine news agency, Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Dara stated on October 3 that the Philippines has taken note of media reports regarding Chinese spies infiltrating the country and is treating the issue seriously. Recently, 2 media outlets reported that Chinese spies are active in the Philippines, attracting widespread attention. On September 26, Al Jazeera aired a documentary about Cambodian Chinese businessman Xi Jinping. In the documentary, Xi Jinping accused himself and the former mayor of Bamban City in Tarlac Province, Philippines, Guo Huaping, of being Chinese spies, warning Guo Huaping to expose the truth to the world to avoid being silenced. Guo Huaping is currently imprisoned in a jail in suburban Manila on criminal charges related to human trafficking and corruption. Earlier in August, Philippine media reported that intelligence units had information indicating that China had deployed multiple spies in the Philippines and established several spy networks targeting Philippine strategic institutions through specific individuals. There were even allegations that a reporter from China stationed in Manila was identified as a spy. In response to these allegations, Philippine Defense Secretary Teodoro called on lawmakers on September 30 to amend the existing anti-espionage law. The current anti-espionage law in the Philippines only applies during wartime, and Teodoro suggested including espionage activities during peacetime in constitutional provisions to address increasingly complex international espionage behavior and enhance national security. News Report 9. According to a report by Dr. Peng, on November 1, the U.S. Department of Commerce announced tariffs ranging from 2.85% to 23.06% on imported solar panels from 4 Southeast Asian countries. This decision changed the previous policy that allowed solar panels from these countries to enter the U.S. duty-free. The specific tariff rates are 23% for Thailand, 9% for Malaysia, 8.25% for Cambodia, and 2.85% for Vietnam. Additionally, the U.S. Department of Commerce specifically named 4 companies and established special tariffs for them. These companies are Hanwha Solar from Malaysia, a Korean company, Jinko Energy from Malaysia, a Chinese company, Thai Solar Energy from Thailand, a Chinese company, and GCL Poly Energy from Vietnam, a Chinese company. Despite these companies facing special tariffs, analysts indicated that the initial expectation was that the U.S. government might impose higher tariffs, but the rates announced are only preliminary. The final rates will be determined by the U.S. Department of Commerce in the spring of next year. In June of this year, the U.S. announced it would start imposing tariffs on solar products from these 4 Southeast Asian countries. This measure was taken in response to concerns from the domestic industry, preventing these countries from becoming a transshipment point for Chinese manufacturers to bypass tariffs originally aimed at China. The new tariff policy aims to strengthen U.S. control over the solar industry and protect domestic manufacturing. News Report 10. According to data released by the Hong Kong Census and Statistics Department on October 3, the total retail sales in Hong Kong for August amounted to 29.2 billion Hong Kong dollars, a year-on-year decrease of 10%, marking the 6th consecutive month of decline in the retail sector and a double-digit drop. The total retail sales for the first 8 months of this year fell by 7.7%, with online retail accounting for 8% of total sales, also down by 0.5% year-on-year. Xia Qiuyuan, chairman of the Hong Kong Retail Management Association, stated that they had originally expected some improvement in the retail market in August, predicting a small spring, but the reality was even more severe. Hong Kong residents are traveling to mainland China to shop, while Chinese tourists visiting Hong Kong are primarily opting for budget, backpacking, trips, generally believing that Hong Kong's product prices are high, thus reducing consumption. Xia also pointed out that this unfavorable trend may continue, and it is expected that the market will not show signs of recovery until the Spring Festival next year. News Report 11. According to reports from the U.S. economy, the Supreme Court of Singapore sentenced former Transport Minister Yeo Woon Hong to 1 year in prison for receiving valuable gifts on October 3. This marks the first time an official has been sentenced for corruption in Singapore's history and is one of the country's most serious corruption cases. The case revealed that Yeo received gifts worth approximately $300,000 from 2015 to 2022, including tickets to Formula One racing, concerts, and football matches, whiskey, and a branded bicycle worth $5,000. According to Singaporean law, the limit for gifts received by public servants and politicians is $38. Singapore has a strict system in place to maintain government integrity and efficiency, and officials found guilty of corruption face severe penalties, including losing substantial bonuses and other benefits. Singapore's anti-corruption system is widely regarded as very strict, and this case further emphasizes the government's commitment to integrity. News Report 12. According to Kyodo News, the Japanese government restarted its regular vaccination program for the elderly against the Wuhan pneumonia on October 1. Data released by the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare showed that from September 16 to 22, each family medical institution treated an average of 4.35 Wuhan pneumonia patients, a decrease from the peak in July. However, considering past year's data, an increase in Wuhan pneumonia cases is expected starting in October, with a possible peak in December. The vaccination program targets elderly individuals aged 65 and older, as well as those aged 60 to 64 with underlying health conditions. From October of this year to March of next year, the government plans to provide 3 doses of vaccine to 2 million elderly individuals, with individuals eligible to receive a dose every 3 months. While the current situation is improving, Japanese experts believe there is still a need for caution in regard to Wuhan pneumonia, as the virus may return again. The government is calling on the public to continue wearing masks in crowded places and to avoid close contact with others.